And the second reading is from the Sermon on the Mount by Emmett Fox. The greatest trouble one is in, the less serenity he or she can have. Serenity itself is only to be had by prayer and by the forgiving of others and of oneself. Remember our little chant. Serenity itself is only to be had by prayer and by the forgiving of others and of oneself. But serenity you must have before you can make any spiritual progress. And it is serenity, that fundamental tranquility of soul that Jesus refers to by the word peace, the peace that surpasses all understanding. The peacemakers spoke of this in this beatitude. So the beatitude that I'm referring to here, that Emmett Fox is referring to, is the one we've been talking about, which is, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be known as children of God. So the peacemakers spoken of in this beatitude are those who make or bring about this true peace or serenity in their own souls. For it is they who surmount limitation and become actually and not merely potentially the children of God. So they shall be called children of God. This condition of mind is the objective at which Jesus aims in all the instructions at which he gives us in the Sermon on the Mount and elsewhere. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. As long as there is fear or resentment or any trouble in your heart, that is to say, as long as we lack serenity or peace, it is not possible for us to attain very much. Some degree of serenity is essential to the attainment of any true concentration. And we need concentration to attain peace. I added that last line. So let's go to a third hymn. And I'm just kind of picking and choosing from my old hymn book. And I think what we'll do is the Jeanette Isabella. This is a really pretty one. That's an old French hymn. I'm going to keep playing Christmas carols until probably January the 5th. So here we are. Once again, 3 services in 3 days. And this topic of peace is a pretty important one. I know that people have big challenges with this in general. We all have a challenge with coming to a sense of peace. And I'm going to reread a little bit of what Emmett Fox wrote about blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God. One thing that I am very aware of that we get hung up by is that we have difficulty in general coming to peace just quickly on our own, and without hesitation, and that it's just supposed to fall over us, right? Like the Star of Bethlehem just shining down, and all of a sudden, oh, I'm at peace now. Doesn't quite work that way. Can I get a witness? Emmett Fox points to the greatest trouble one is in, the less serenity he or she can have. And that sounds obvious, right? Life is a journey of challenges and ups and downs, and good and bad, and light and dark, and hot and cold, and sometimes we forget that is what life is, that life is challenging, and life can be completely fun. And you may have heard it said that psychologists have traced a lot of people's disharmony to social media that tends to depict people in their best moments. Like Facebook has been cited for this, just in terms of an example. When the people you went to high school with or go to high school with, depending on how old you are, Instagram, all the social media, you tend to see people at their best because people want to present their best. And all the advertisements on TV, and especially around the Christmas season, and even, believe it or not, we see this all the time, even the big pharma drug commercials. It's a bit laughable. It depicts these people, and they look like they're having a great time because they're on a certain drug, and so they don't show the person in their sick state on those commercials. They show somebody who's just having a lovely time and having the perfect family, and around Christmas it's the perfect tree and the perfect car with a big red bow, and it's we're subjected to this, like, it's all supposed to be perfect. And the irony of that is that doesn't make us feel comfort. That doesn't make us feel like, that's where it's at. Okay, I think I'll go for that, and then I'll feel complete. It doesn't work. So we're in this complete illusion in our current day society, and it's been this way for a very long time, since the advent of capitalism especially, where we are being kind of programmed, like literally programmed, to think that there's something out there, that it's better out there. And if you can just get that thing that's out there, it's going to be all fine. Everything's just going to work out, and you're going to be smiling like these people that are taking these pharmaceutical drugs, and it's going to fix everything. And we know that that's not true, but we're fed this information anyway. We're fed these lies anyway. So during, this interesting time, at the end of Christmas, and no matter what religion you're from, it's in the collective, so we feel it. Like I spoke about the peacefulness of Christmas Eve. If you're not a Christian, you can still feel it. We're all connected, we're all one. So it's in the collective that, this time of year, after Christmas is over, and, before the new year, when things are winding down, that there's a bit of a slump in the collective. And that slump is very much connected to unmet expectations and wishes that haven't been fulfilled. So, and additionally to that, this sense that we're not at peace within ourselves, that something's amiss. And that's a heightened feeling this time of year because there are so many expectations. People travel to see their families, and maybe they don't get along very well, and something happens because of all the stress, because when we're really stressed, those aren't our best moments. Those aren't our most patient moments. So we're challenged this time of year because the peace is not as readily available. And Jesus came to teach us that the only place to find that peace was within us, and we just have to activate it. So during those times that the dark feels darker than the light feels lighter, if we know that we have a place to go to lift the energy up, and if we have, this is what I do when I feel this way, this is what I do when I feel that way. If you're into meditation, I highly recommend it. If you're into walking, yoga, talking to friends, making a policy in your life to not spend time with people who bring you down, who put you down, to the best of your ability. Hang with happy children, just don't stay there and enroll in this dark place is truth, because it's not truth. Christ Jesus came to show us truth. And the crucifixion was to show us that this life is not all there is, because the true story is the resurrection. That's the whole point of that story. Is, the purpose of life is to transcend life. So we're not to stay in this place of gotta get. There's a deacon at the church, the Catholic church that I played piano at for years, who wrote a book about going to Savicos and the Dominican Republic, and how Deacon Bill Kane, and how the people in Savicos literally didn't, they had to go to the pond or something. They had to go to like a well or something to get water, just to take a shower. And they had really nothing. The hospitals were just kind of thrown together, and they weren't sanitary, and some people would die of infections that they got in the hospitals, and the bed sheets weren't even clean. And I mean, there are people living in abject poverty. And what was striking was not so much the abject poverty, but his description of these people being the most joyous and faithful people that he had ever met. And I mean, I'm talking, there were like torrential rainstorms and mudslides and just all kinds of problems. So it was kind of a, paradox, here they are in such dire circumstances, and they're happy. And we hear this all the time. Some people that have a lot less than us, but they have a sense of community and being part of a tribe even. They're much, much happier. So that alone shows us, many people with less are happier. So that's a demonstration that shows us that we don't get the happiness from outside of us. We don't get the happiness from things. I mentioned the story of Charlie Brown the other night. We've all probably seen, I don't know if you live in America, I don't know how you couldn't see the Christmas Story. What's it called? A Merry Christmas Charlie Brown or something? Anyway, when Linus was talking about the commercialism, Charlie Brown is not the point. And that came out back in the 1970s. So Emmett Fox speaks of, let's go back to that. As long as there is fear or resentment or any trouble in your heart, that is to say, as long as we lack serenity or peace, it is not possible for us to attain very much. Some degree of serenity is essential to the attainment of any true concentration. We need concentration to attain peace. So how important it is for us to learn how to do that, to nurture that peace, to find out what creates that peace within us. Hopefully over the holiday, we had peace with our families. I had a peaceful time with just a few members of my family. It was really, what a gift. So if we can make maybe a commitment to find the things that bring us peace this Christmas season, to know that it's always within us and around us, to reach out and have a sense of community even during these really challenging times of COVID. These times have really been so super challenging for many people who thought that what they were seeking was to go out to dinner all the time, or to go to movies all the time, or to be busy all the time, or to go to work. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that if there was no frame of reference for something else other than that, then it led to a lot of disharmony for people that were suddenly in lockdown and stuck at home. So it's not easy, but it is worth it. And if we make commitments to find that peace that resides within each and every one of us, that's available through connection to that peace that surpasses all understanding, if we can be the different, if we can go for the different, if we can be unlike others, if we can be the example. I read the quote from Desmond Tutu, in that environment of apartheid, he stood out, as did Nelson Mandela, because they decided that wasn't, it wasn't okay to the degree that they had to stand up for peace and for justice, to be different than the others who were probably afraid, for good reason, to speak out against apartheid in South Africa. It was a very, very violent time. And unfortunately, those times haven't ended. So can we make a difference by going for the peace? But it doesn't mean not being active in our communities and in our societies. We can literally find more peace when we're joining up with others and in a spirit of love and commonality, common goal. Like here at Church of Spirituality, our common goal is to create more peace within us so that we can have it around us. That is the nobility of peace that I'm speaking of. It's a noble cause. Those who have really stood up for peace. Like I think about John Lennon. I played John Lennon's song, my version of it, yesterday at the end of the Christmas service. He stood for peace. He just stood for peace. He had a big platform. We have even bigger platforms now, because when John Lennon was around, there were less people. But we have bigger platforms. There wasn't social media, because he was shot and killed in 1980, I believe it was. So we have bigger platforms now, so we have more opportunities for peace. And in this new year coming, personally, I have a plan to bring together us collectively in meditation. And we'll probably be doing that New Year's Eve, so watch this space. I will let you know. And let's just keep in mind, there are people that need to be reminded that the peace and the love that we seek comes through each one of us. It just comes through each one of us. And we have to really nurture that peace within us. We have to attend to it like a beautiful garden. If yoga is your way, do yoga. If meditation is your way, do meditation. If prayer is your way, saying the rosary, saying chants, or whatever it is, but just let's make a commitment to not refrain from doing the things that actually bring peace. It's amazing how many of us, when what we need most is to meditate or to just be quiet, that's the last thing that we want to do. We're very addicted to drama in our society. And it's if in the short term, maybe it gets our adrenaline going and gets us all excited. In the long term, it's very destructive and it's very damaging. So let's, as I always say, a little play on Mahatma Gandhi's, be the change you wish to see in the world. Let us be the peace that we wish to see in the world. And I thank each and every one of you for the beautiful beings that you are. Truly, let's acknowledge every one of you. Let's just take a moment, give yourself a pat on the back. We're all doing the best that we can here on Earth School. We can be that change. We can be that peace. We can see justice. We can see human rights. We can see happiness. We can see smiles. We can see healing for our environment. We can see a better world for our children. We can show them the peace is available, and that creates a brand new, different world. And we got to hold the vision for that. And holding the vision for that makes it happen. Ernest Holmes, The Science of Mind, what you think about is what you create. And that's what Jesus told us. We are the source of the peace and the love. And it's important that we acknowledge it. Let's not make it unimportant. Let's change this around. Let's flip it. The most important thing is the peace and the serenity and the love and the connectedness. Let's flip it. The commercialism, the stuff is not the most important thing. It's the love and the connection and the peace that ensues that is the most important thing. So I'm with you on this, as you know. I hope you know. And I appreciate your feedback and your presence. And let us make peace happen. Let us heal this world. It's a noble thing. Just like the three kings. On that note, before I close, I was looking up hymns for today, because sometimes I just Google them just for some ideas. And I came across an article that, I don't know who the person was, but I came across an article that was bashing Christmas carols. It was some priest somewhere. It might have been in the UK. No idea. But I started to read it, and he was saying, that's ridiculous. The kings wouldn't have come, and they wouldn't have done this, and they wouldn't have done that, and whoever heard of I guess away in a manger, little Lord Jesus no crying he makes it. Whoever heard of a little baby that didn't cry? And it was just, and I couldn't believe I was reading this. It was just something I saw online that I Googled. And I thought how tragically sad that is, that this person who was so hung up on taking the lyrics of these carols like literally, that he missed the point. A lot of what's in the Bible was to make a point. A lot of what's in these carols were to make a point. So whether there were three wise men or not, the story of the three wise men was really about these men that were kings, about their kingly status, were not so caught up in their egos, that they brought the most valuable things that they had. And frankincense and myrrh and gold have very sacred qualities. So they showed up to worship this babe, and that was just to show the humility, the beauty and the peace and the humility of even from those who had attained earthly, power and status and prestige. They knew that the Christ, the humbleness and the humility of the Christ, and just the seeming smallness of this little baby was much greater than anything that they could have ever achieved. And remember, King Herod was really threatened by that, because people will get threatened by the light. But it's just because they're afraid that they don't have that light too, and they do have that light. Maybe King Herod didn't have, maybe he just couldn't activate it. We all have the light. We just have to activate it. But I just thought that was, what a shame that the person missed the point of the story. That he who came in the purest form as the Prince of Peace seemed so small, but it was the greatest gift ever. So food for thought. So thanks for listening. Let's go to our program. Thank you to those of you who have donated. It's a part of our program that I ask for donations to support for this month. The Western Kentucky Tornado Relief Fund. You can send donations to me or directly to them. The link is below last Sunday's service. The Western Kentucky Tornado Relief Fund. If you'd like to just Venmo or PayPal me, 100% of the donations go there, as they do every week. They go to a worthy cause. So at Annette Dion 123 for Venmo, the @ at Annette Dion 123. Or PayPal, AnnetteDion7@gmail.com, which is also where you can email me with any correspondence. So let us read our prayer of thanksgiving. So anyway, 100% of what you send to me, I just turn around and send it to the Tornado Relief Fund. Thank you for your caring and compassion for others during this season of giving. Dear God, thank you for making us more aware of what we have that we can give to others to make a difference in this troubled world. Please help us to look deeply into our hearts to see what we can give, that we can give more of our tithes, talents, and time. Grant us the inspiration to be a generous people. Thank you for the bounty which we receive. Amen. And our closing hymn, since it's still the Christmas season, honestly, I have so many hymns that I'm forgetting which book has what hymn. But I'm going to play, if it's in here. Yes, it's in here. It Came Upon a Midnight Clear. Angels all around us. It's a really big time for angels. They're really close right now. They really are. Ask them to draw near. Our closing reading is from The Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes that we read weekly. Take a deep breath. Through the long night watches, God's hand clasps ours. At the break of dawn, God's hand clasps ours. In the daytime of work and endeavor, from eternity to eternity, God's hand clasps ours. When time shall have passed, when eternities shall be strewn about like falling petals, and space and worlds shall be swallowed up in everlasting blessedness, God's hand shall clasp ours, and so it is. So since it's Sunday, I just want to let you know that the more I think about it, I am going to do probably not a full service, but a service on Christmas Eve, which is this coming Friday, on Christmas Eve. And then we'll do our usual Sunday service, which would be January 2nd, I think. Yes. We'll do our usual Sunday service. So next Sunday is a new theme for the month, and watch this space. There'll be other things going on. I so appreciate you all. You're all gifts from heaven, and just my prayer is that you recognize it, that we all recognize it, and then we join up in this sense of, knowing our soul's worth, like I spoke about in Old Holy Night. Christ appeared and our souls felt their worth. So let's stay with that, okay? Namaste, go in peace, pray for peace and be peace, and see you soon. Bye.